Hello, hello, hello. This is Priscilla with Scylla Travel, where I help you live the dream through travel. And I'm here to talk to you about something that is super important in this day and age, the age of the pandemic. Everybody wants to travel, yeah, myself included, but there are just some things that we need to know um, before we try to travel. So, hey, hello there. I see two Facebook visitors, but first, click on the link and grant StreamYard permission to see or display your profile. Otherwise, it'll just say Facebook user. I won't know who's making the comment. So, this is Priscilla Travel, helping you live the dream through travel and helping you be educated on knowing what to do, how to plan, when and if and where to go for your vacation. So, I'm a one woman show, and I'm just going to make sure that I am live. I'm actually live here, but I'm live streaming through Instagram, Facebook, and I believe YouTube as well. So, I'm just checking. So, hello, everybody. Um, I help active adults, businesses, women entrepreneurs, and professionals reconnect with their inner explorer. So I don't know about you, but I am ready to explore. This has been a really tough 2 years. Okay, so hey, everybody, I see you on Facebook. Let's see. So, back to what we're here to talk to you about. I'm here to talk to you about 7 tips to planning your vacation during the pandemic. During the pandemic. During the pandemic, because we're still in it. Okay, things are better. We have strategies in place, and we have like treatments and vaccines and tests and things that we do, but everything is different across the world. It's even different here in the US, depending on where you live. So, we're still in a pandemic. People are ready to travel. I get it. I'm ready to travel again because I was traveling last year, but things change all the time. We just want to make sure that we're educated and we have a strategy on planning our trips because I know that people are ready to travel. Yeah, you got your booster last week. I would say someone's saying they got their booster last week. So, like I said, click on the link granting StreamYard permission to see your or display your profile. Otherwise, it'll say Facebook user. So, for the most part, I would say you're fully vaccinated if you have taken your booster. So many destinations are requiring boosters, vaccinations, or you to be fully vaccinated. Now that can be different depending on where you want to go. So I'm going to go right into it. So I'm going to go right back to what I was talking to you about. 7 tips to planning your vacation during the pandemic. All right. All right. Number 1, know um, the vacation test and quarantine requirements in the destination that you plan to visit. You got to know it. You got to know it. You got to know it. So I'm saying can't find the link. Someone's saying they can't find the link. I don't know what link you mean. Just go and type in the chat. Let me know what link you're talking about because I have some links that I'll be sharing with you later on at the end of the presentation. So let me know if you can't find the link, what link you're talking about. Oh, probably the StreamYard link. Scroll to the bottom of the post. You might see it, and then you can click it. You can click on the link. So because I know I had a description and you can scroll to the bottom and you can see, or you can just see where the link is. Okay, just scroll in the post. All right, so know what the vaccination, test, and quarantine requirements are in the destination that you plan to visit. So that is something that is number one when you're picking a destination. Numero uno. Okay, so you got to know what the requirements are because it's different everywhere. All right. So, here in the US, we have our own thing going on, but it's totally different across the globe. This is a global pandemic. It's not a US pandemic. It's a global pandemic. So, all these different nations have their own rules. They have their own populations. They have things that are going on in their own countries because everyone's society is different. And for those of you who are avid travelers, you know that. But those of you who are just getting started to want to travel and venture outside of the US, because my audience are mainly US citizens or US residents, although I do have some folks who live in the UK. They're having some they've had their share of issues just like we have. Um, but when you're visiting other nations, remember, respect that nation, respect that nation's citizens, respect that nation's rules because you're not home. So you have to know what the rules are before you go. When you're deciding on where you want to go, make sure you check it. You make a list of prospective destinations that you want to visit, and then start looking up what the requirements are. First, entry requirements. That's just to get in the door, to get on the plane, to get over there. And then keep in mind, while you're traveling, those rules can change. So I'm going to go through this list with you and I will help you be more prepared. So for when things happen, so you could be flexible and you'll have a backup plan and a backup plan for the backup plan, because that's what you're going to need to be traveling right now. All right, so that's number one. Number two is consider the health profile for you and your traveling companions. So, when I say that, I mean like there are things called pre existing conditions. And we hear that a lot in the US. Just throw that out of the window because we're not talking politics or anything like that. We're talking about things, because that is a real thing before the pandemic ever hit, pre-existing conditions. I'm talking like diabetes, high blood pressure, if you're taking cancer treatments, if you've got maybe a heart transplant and you're on medication that suppresses your immune system, anything else. It could also be another illness that you have, anything else that you might have a condition. Um, that you know of before you travel. So you've got to consider the health profile of not just yourself, but your traveling companions, because you may want to travel with your parents, and your parents may be a little bit older. Well, we'll be a little bit older. And I'm telling you, if you live long enough, stuff happens. So that's all I have to say about that. So it's important that we all make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, and we need to make sure that we stay healthy. Number three, know the pandemic related policies at the accommodations that you select. And when I say that, I mean know what's it gonna be like when you get there. Okay. So let's say I'm gonna take one country that's very popular right now, Mexico. Right now, Mexico does not have any testing requirements. It does not have any vaccination requirements. It doesn't, you can come there, but remember, you have to be tested before you can come back to the US. So that's another thing. You have to know what those policies are with regard to when you get there, how do they have health, cleanliness, and safety standards there at the hotel or resort or property that you're visiting, because many of the hotels have been certified or they go through this process because they are saying, yeah, our hotels and our protocols are, so on point that um, we guarantee that you're going to be safe. But nobody can really guarantee anything 100%. But you want to make sure that the places that you're staying do have a statement or have at least taken the effort to make sure that their properties adhere to certain governmental health and safety standards. Because many of the places or the destinations, the accommodations in the destinations, excuse me, the accommodations, I'm talking about your hotel, I'm talking about your resort, I'm talking about any venue that you may want to visit when you're there. It could be a coliseum, or you could be going to an arena, you could be going to a nightclub, you could be going to a restaurant. You want to be cognizant, you want to know what's going on in that destination and what those policies are, right? So let's say that you do test positive, what's going to happen at that to you if you test positive? And you also want to know, where can you get a test? Are they going to provide a test for you on the property, which many of them do? Are they going to, and if they do, are they going to charge you? Or how much is it going to be? Or are you going to have to go and find your own test? These are things that you want to consider when you're thinking about where you're going to stay. Once you figure out where you want to go, you want to figure out where you want to stay, what the accommodations are going to be like. So, that is number 3, knowing the pandemic-related policies, as well as, do you have to be socially distant? What's the capacity, of the hotel? If the numbers go up in infections, so Mexico, they're not keeping people out, but depending on, they have states just like we do, depending on the virus, um, levels in the state, and Quintana Roo, that is the Cancun area where lots and lots of people go. Depending on what's going on in that state, they may pull back on how many people can be staying at the hotels. They reduce the capacity, then they go back up again when the numbers reduce. And you want to be considering, you want to know what's going on there. You want to know, when you get there, is stuff going to be open when you get there, right? You want to know if, okay, I'm here, you know, what's going to be open? Or are they going to close everything at 10 o'clock? Is there going to be a curfew? These are things that you want to consider. You need to know about these things. Like in Puerto Rico, some time ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, and probably in the middle of the pandemic, they had curfews. So, and then you couldn't go to the beach. You could go to the beach for exercise, but you couldn't just hang out at the beach. So these are things that you want to like keep in mind, especially on your accommodations, on your property. Are the restaurants, are they going to be open? Is anything going to be open? These are the things that you want to keep in mind when you are selecting places to visit. So, this is Priscilla with Silla Travel, helping you live the dream through travel. And I'm very glad that you took time out of your Sunday to listen to me. So, uh, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I help you live the dream through travel, specializing in active adults, women entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals, and helping them reconnect to their inner explorer. So, I don't want to exclude anyone, because these tips are for anyone, right? And even though I specialize in certain groups, I do try to help as many people travel and travel comfortably as possible. I try to arm you with the tools that you need in your toolkit, so that when you're planning your vacations, you're not caught out there. Okay. You don't want to be caught off guard. This is not the time to be half stepping. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4, know how you're going to get tested for when you get back to the US. So I briefly talked on that. So we talked about Mexico. We talked about that there's no, they don't require vaccines or a COVID test to enter. And actually, they just had an article where they're not even going to do the health questionnaire. But you still have to be cognizant of, know what's going to happen, how you're going to get tested, what kind of test you're going to be able to get. Is it going to cost me anything? Are you going to do it, give it to me on the property? Do I have to go somewhere else? Am I on my own? How am I going to get this test to come back to the US? Because ultimately you're going to need it to come back. And it has to be a negative viral test, not the PCR test. So, this is a kit that I was able to order. This is the Binax Now COVID-19 Ag Kit. I did a video on how to get a test. I ordered these. These are the ones that have you have to make an appointment. There's a proctor. You could take these with you. And I know that the cruise lines, before the US government decided to contract with them, they were already contracting with them, many of the cruise lines. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have the right test kit if you're going to take your own test kit. Of course, I would recommend that anyone do that anyway if you can get your hands on it. Of course, the administration is talking about a website so you can order them and keep them, but until you get them, You can order them, you can get them online. The problem was getting them during Christmas when the Omicron variant started to spike. That was the problem. But you can still get them. You can order them. It took me about 3 weeks to get those. Okay, so but remember, know how you're going to get your test so you can come back home. You don't want to, it's up to you if you're the adventurous type or if you've been to the destination before and you feel comfortable finding your own test. It depends on each place. Like in France, right? In France, testing is available everywhere, especially in Paris and in the cities. Any pharmacy does the test. You can go to any pharmacy, pay 25 euros to get a test in a pharmacy, right? I think $25 is close to 30 US dollars. But you can get a test in places like that in different countries in Europe. How the testing is made available differs by country and locality. So you want to know how you're going to get it to get back home because you're going to need that in order to check in on the plane, or else you won't be going anywhere. All right. So number 5. Sorry about that. Have backup funding sources in place because you got to be prepared for those unfortunate events, like let's say that you test positive for COVID and you have to stay longer. Okay, so this is a strategy. I'm just trying to arm you with the tools, like I said, in your toolbox to be prepared for traveling. So make sure that you have backup funding. So yeah, you pay for your vacation in advance, right? You have your funds available to do your stay there, to things that you want to do when you're there. However, make sure that you have backup funding sources because let's say that you do test positive, right? And or someone in your party tests positive. The resorts may or may not allow you to stay for free. Some let you stay for free, others don't. And up until recently, they were doing that, but they're starting to move away from that. They may give you a reduced rate, you can stay on the property, or if you have no money and have no backup funding sources available, then you have to stay in one of their government hotels. And they're not nice, I must tell you. Okay, you just think of that. If you have backup funding, and let's say that something goes wrong and it's 2 of you traveling, and one of you as an adult tests positive, and the other one is negative, right? So, depending on the resort, these are things that you have to know. You have to feel the stuff out first. Some places, and I'm reading about this so many times, so many places, and in so many instances on these Facebook groups, these travel Facebook groups, and from my travel agent community, where people are traveling to like Mexico and they're testing positive, but they have to stay, excuse me, the resort will let them stay, but you have to pay. You have to pay extra. But they didn't know that they should consider a hotel that will allow them to stay, maybe stay for free because they are um, standing by their health and safety protocols. Not to mention, um, depending on the type of resort that you're going to stay in, you may need to spend a little bit more than your bargain hotel because when you pay a little bit more, the quality tends to be a little bit more. So you want to make sure that number one, you have those backup funding sources like a credit card so that you can stay longer and you don't have to go stay in a government hotel or something like that. Now, there's also another alternative to that, but you should still always have backup funding because it's not like you're in the US. These governments are not going to fund you to stay there. They are concerned with their population. So a lot of US travelers are coming to these destinations and their economies are set up to manage their own populations, not other people from other countries, right? So you think your Blue Cross Blue Shield card is going to work in Amsterdam, you're sorely mistaken. So there's another strategy. Here's another one. Purchase travel protection with COVID-19 related medical and evacuation coverage. Okay, everybody, let me stop for a second. Does anyone have any questions? Is there any place or anything specific that you'd like to know? So let me know. When you I'd like to know, when you travel, do you purchase travel insurance? Let me know. Let me know in the comments if you purchase travel insurance. So I'd really like to know if you do that. It's a really good practice to do that. It was before a good practice because before COVID, you could break your leg or you could get sick from normal sicknesses and be stranded, and not have protection, and the government or the island or the country is not going to take your health insurance, so you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And another thing to mention is on these cruise lines, I know a lot of times people can travel on the cruises because it's a closed loop. You go from the US and you return from the U back to the US. You don't stay overnight in any of the destinations, so they don't really require a passport, but it's a good idea to get one because let's say that something happens and you have to stay over, you would need a passport in order to return home. That's where the issue happens. You need a passport to return back home in order to fly. To get on a plane, you need to have a passport to fly. So, but remember, purchase your travel protection and make sure it has COVID-19 related medical and evacuation coverages. So these are things that you need to make sure of. Don't skimp on it. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive than it was in the past, but that's just how it is. There are risks to traveling. So, in order to mitigate those risks and lessen the impact of those risks, make those things less devastating to you, so you can chill and you're not in a panic, be prepared. Purchase travel protection. Do not, I just can't stress it enough. Do not travel internationally without travel protection and make sure it has COVID related medical evacuation coverages. Make sure that you do that, as well as even when you're traveling domestically. So I've had two domestic trips and I had travel insurance um, then because you know why? Because something may happen to my flight. And let's say that just like what happened over the Christmas break, over our holidays, we had all of these cancellations because the airlines had so many people calling out sick that flights were canceled. Let's say I'm in the US and I need to drive back home, right? I could just rent a car and drive back home, but my travel protection would cover that if my flights were canceled. Your travel insurance will also cover you or assist you in case you test positive in a destination and you need to stay. You want to stay in the resort. You don't want to go to a government hotel. You want to stay in the resort. So they would be able to reimburse you or pay the bill. Or if you get sick and you need to have a doctor, you need to make sure that you have travel protection with COVID provisions so that it would fund your stay. And travel protection also, um, usually depending on the policy, will allow your companion to stay as well. Adult companions, not talking about children. So where the resort or hotel may fall short, your travel protection will pick up the slack. Okay, you also may want to consider some additional coverages. There are some evacuation plans that you can get. So, just in case something goes on, where your travel insurance and where the hotel falls short, you have an extra buffer there. If you need to get home, where they can actually fly you home, there are some memberships. I sell some memberships to my clients. There's one that will fly you back home from the country, not on Delta or American. A jet will come and get you and fly you back home. So these are some of the things that you want to consider. There's also a service called On Vacation Doctor. So let's say that you're in a destination and you need to have a test. So there was an instance in Jamaica where there was a lady who wanted to come back home, and I guess she didn't have she tested positive. She didn't have the means, I'm assuming, to stay in the resort. So she was in a government hotel. And it wasn't very comfortable there. And the test that they gave her was a PCR test, which required her to stay longer. But if you had a service like On Vacation Doctor, you could have the doctor come to see you, an English speaking doctor in your destination, a physician, and write you a script saying you've recovered from COVID-19, as well as issue you a test. in order to get back home. So that's number 6. Purchase travel protection. Can't stress it enough. Number 7, expect higher prices and delays. So, gone are the days of these like deals that people are expecting to get like they in 2019. There were just way too many hoops for people to jump through. And when I say people, I'm talking about the airlines. They're changing their policies where some of the airlines are getting rid of your basic economy accumulating points. You can buy it, but it's non-refundable. You can't change your ticket. If you don't fly, you're just out of your money and you don't accumulate points. These are things that you want to look out for. So I would advise anyone to fly in the main cabin because at least you have an opportunity to get a credit. At least get points on your credit card or your rewards plan if you have one. So, I mean, who wants to buy a plane ticket and those dollars that you spend with the airline don't go towards your reward points? You want to accumulate those points so that you can get some free flights. Yeah, that's the objective. So remember, also in the destinations, expect higher prices and delays because people are just coming back and then people in various states of shutdown across the globe, various states, just like we are, they're like open and shut, open and shut. Reduce capacity, okay, we're back to normal capacity. Reduce capacity, okay, we're back to, normal capacity. It's like that there too. Expect delays. If there's a spike, then just like our supply lines are impacted, theirs are going to be impacted as well. If people are sick, they're not going to come to work. So expect higher prices and delays. So the more demand there is for something, the higher the prices. And then the scarcity of that thing, the higher the prices. Okay, remember that from economics class? All right. Now, those are the 7 things that I wanted to talk to you about, but here's a bonus. Hire a travel professional advisor. Hire a professional travel advisor. I said that backwards, probably because I was reading the slide backwards. Hire a professional travel advisor to help you figure it all out. So if you feel overwhelmed by all of the things that I just explained to you, hire a travel professional. That person will help you figure it all out. So this is what I do for my clients. I actually walk them through all of these steps. I actually do the research for them. I do the research in these destinations. I help them sit down, figure out where they want to go. And then I'm the one, since I'm the professional, I'm the one who's looking to see what those requirements are. Now, keep in mind, those things could change at any point in time. So as we get closer to their departure time, yeah, we look again to see what those protocols are. But I got to say, with the exception of a few destinations, being vaccinated, fully vaccinated, if you want to visit destinations, that is the main requirement. So there are destinations right now that are scuttling there or scrapping, their testing. They want to get rid of the testing because it's just a pain. But what they're doing is you need to have a vaccine or proof of a vaccine or a vaccine certificate, or in France, certificat. I had to have a vaccine certificate in order to enter into some restaurants. They would not allow me in because I didn't have one. I had one, I just didn't understand what they were asking me. Okay, so make sure that for the most part, you're going to need to be vaccinated. The boosting, yes, they're looking for boosters. So in these other countries, they're looking for boosters. They're just trying to protect their population. So, but remember, hire a travel advisor. This sounds really hard, and it can be, but that's why you should hire a travel pro. All right, now hire a travel pro, and then you'll be happy like these people here. So they're happy that they get to go on vacation. So I'm going on a little longer than I planned to, but I feel like this is really important to talk about. Now, for those of you who are interested in knowing how to travel and navigate the pandemic travel landscape, I do have a checklist called the Pandemic Travel Prep Checklist, and it includes the 10 most important things that you need to do before you travel abroad. You can download the checklist. It goes through all of the steps, and it actually provides you with links. I actually provide you with links on to that will take you to the different sites, whether it be State Department, CDC, where to find protocols for different destinations. In that guide, you'll find it. So download that guide. That guide will help you navigate the travel landscape. So that's just about it. That's all I really had to talk to you about today. But also remember, I'm having cruise night Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is January the 20th. And I'll be unveiling a trip. So please, the link is in the description. So if you're interested, I encourage you to come. So if anyone else doesn't have any more questions, thank you for joining. I'm very happy that I'm able to serve you, help you navigate this landscape so that you can feel more comfortable and confident traveling, because traveling is something that we all need, right? So this is Priscilla with Scylla Travel. And hoping that you have a great rest of your day, your morning, or your evening, even at night, if that's when you're looking at it, but looking at this video. So just remember one more thing. As always, remember to live the dream. Bye-bye.